What's up, guys? I'm gonna play this scene from the original Matrix, the Matrix 1 from 1999. This is the ending. This is a major spoiler alert if you haven't seen the film. I decided to not play the sound so that YouTube will not pull down this video. But this is an awesome scene when Neo realized that, you know what, I am the man. And look at him. Look how he just stopped those bullets. Look at that. That's when he said to himself, you know what? I could do this. Because the awesome thing about the Matrix is that he wasn't sure about himself. When Morpheus kept telling him that you are the one, you are the one. Look at this scene when he just dropped the bullets. That scene right there is so awesome. That's when he realized, you know what? I am the man. You see what I'm saying? So right here, Agent Smith, he looks at Neo, right? Like, you know what? I don't care about that. I'm still going to try to take him out. So look at him. He's swinging. And then look at this particular part right here when Neo was just like, look at that, flowing like. And the reason why is because, look at that part right there. That's so awesome. That's when he realized, you know what? No one in this computer program, the Matrix, can stop me because I control the Matrix. It's like as if he is the Matrix at this point. And then look, he just went right into Agent Smith in front of the other agents. And then the other agents are looking like, what's going on here? Because the agents, for those of you who are not followers of this series, The Matrix, the agents are basically programs that work for the machines. And then right here, this is when Neo takes out Agent Smith, kaboom, right in front of all the of these two agents. And look at how Neo's just flexing his muscle. You see right there? He's like, yo, I am the Matrix. And then when he gives them this stare, that's when the agents say, you know what? We are out of here. You know what I'm saying? They disobeyed the machines because they work for the machines. For them to run like that, let me tell you, that's the Matrix. That is precisely what I was expecting from the new film, The Matrix Resurrections. Unfortunately, I sat here with my son, Jay Boogie, in serious disappointment. The best part about The Matrix Resurrections is actually this picture. You see how Neo looks all confident and powerful? When many of us saw this poster, this picture, we assumed already that the new Matrix is going to be the bomb, is going to be awesome. And the new Matrix is not awesome. It's not awesome. Basically, in a nutshell, the new Matrix Resurrections is very similar to Terminator Genesis, in my opinion. Remember that film when the director decided to pull a lot of stuff from the old Terminator films, and when that director decided to add those elements into the new film Terminator Genesis, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. And that's the approach that this director who made The Matrix Resurrection did. That's what he did. And as a matter of fact, he didn't really want to do this film. He came out publicly in the past saying that I don't want to make a Matrix 4. So, and also I also read that during the COVID lockdown, he was telling some of the cast members that he didn't want to continue making the Matrix. He didn't want to finish it. Let me tell you something. If you are a cook, if you are a cook standing in front of your stove, cooking for your family, with anger in your heart, if you don't have no love behind your cooking, your family are going to taste the results of that experience. You see, when you cook with love, people will definitely notice. They will say, man, this tastes good. The oregano, the kosher salt, the garlic powder, or whatever the case, whatever ingredients you add to it, You know, the love. The love is the key behind it. And if you don't put love into anything in general, it's simply not going to come out good. And that's exactly what took place with the the Matrix Resurrections. I mean, look, me and my son Jay Boogie, his real name is Jaden, but we call him Jay Boogie. Check out his YouTube channel, Boogie's Life. He's into all that Call of Duty, DC Universe, and all that other stuff. Check him out. I'm just including him in this video. So anyway, we were sitting here, and before we decided to watch the film, I decided to play the conclusion of the Matrix Revolutions, so that we can go into this film expecting a continuation from the conclusion of that film. You see, because my son, I introduced him to the first three Matrix, I think a year or two ago, and he enjoyed it. My son Jaden, but I just wanted to make sure that me and him went into the new movie knowing what took place, you know, from the last film. And the approach, like I said, is just like Terminator Genesis. They decided to pull a lot of stuff from the other films, you know. Major spoiler alert. Major spoiler alert. I mean, Agent Smith is back. They don't explain how he came back. Trinity, you know, you already saw her on the poster. And me and many others like me, fans of the series, we was expecting a logical explanation for bringing Trinity back, because Trinity was dead. She was dead. Okay? The director failed to properly explain how in the world she came back in this film. Let me just compare that with Avengers Infinity War. When, spoiler alert for that film, when Loki was killed by Thanos, he was dead, okay? And then at the end of Endgame, when they brought all those people back, they simply couldn't bring back Loki because Loki was dead. But Marvel, in a clever way, introduced all of this time stuff. And in the movie Endgame, when Loki took the Tesseract and disappeared, he went into a different timeline. That is what you call a proper description, a proper way to let the audience know that, yes, Loki from Infinity War is dead, but Loki from the Avengers, the first Avengers, he's not dead because he disappeared. He went into a different timeline. Now, going back to the Matrix Resurrections, they didn't do that. They didn't properly explain that to me and to the audience. Now, Neo, on the other hand, after watching the conclusion of the Matrix Revolutions, they sound the same, Revolutions, Resurrections, at the end, you see the machines dragging Neo's body away because Neo was in cahoots with the machines in order to take down Agent Smith. So a lot of us speculated, thinking that, yeah, he's probably dead, or they just took his body away. Because if you remember the end when Oracle was talking to the little girl that made the sun, and then Oracle saw the sun from a distance and said to the little girl, she asked her, "Did you make that?" And she said yes, because, you know, Oracle and the little girl, they are programs within the Matrix. And then I think the little girl, if I'm not mistaken, asked Oracle, "Do you think we're going to see Neo again?" And then Oracle said, "Yes, I think so." Something like that. So, you know, it left the door open for Neo to return. So Neo's part in the Matrix, the new Matrix, the way they brought him back, I bought it. I said, okay, you know, the machines, they took his body and they was basically using Neo's body just like the machines were using billions of other people's bodies in order for them to exist. That's the whole thing about the Matrix. The Matrix is all about using human beings and making them think that they are actually alive, but they're not. They are like in these cocoons, and the machines are using them like batteries so that they can continue to keep running, keep existing. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in for those of you who are not familiar with the lore of the Matrix. So in Resurrections, they basically dumped a lot of stuff from the previous films, and it was just too obvious. It got to the point that I was looking at certain scenes, and then I would just turn to my son and say, and repeat the scene. I would look at him and repeat the scene before the scene took place. And then my son would look at me because, he's not as familiar as me about, certain scenes from the movies. So I was like, yeah, he's going to say this. Like that part when the new Morpheus, which at first I was trying to like him, and then the movie failed also to explain how they brought him back. And there was a part that Neo took the red pill, and then he ended up in that room just like the first Matrix. And then when the new Morpheus was sitting there with that TV in that white room, remember, just like the first Matrix, I said the scene, I said the line in front of Jaden before the character said it, when he said, "This is the construct," something like that. And then he said the same thing. And then afterwards, he got up with a martini glass in his hand, and he was like joking, like as if he's making fun of the scene. It's like the director is making fun of the scene. So I like I said minutes ago, that if you're not cooking with love, people are going to know that when they taste your food. So I tasted the food that this director cooked up, and it just didn't taste right in my mouth, in my mind, in my heart, because I was expecting Neo, right? I was expecting Neo like this with his trench coat and stuff, right? I didn't get that. Yes, there was some okay scenes of him stopping bullets, but he was doing a lot of stopping. Listen, this is the man. This in the first Matrix, you saw him how he was just flexing his muscles, and then the whole Matrix was just like going along with whatever he was doing in that scene from the first Matrix. That is what we was expecting, and we didn't get that. The worst part in the film is when the director decided to inject the conclusion with feminism. I mean, when Neil Patrick Harris, I didn't really like him in the film. Sometimes when you see a certain movie, and then you will say, why is that actor there? And sometimes having certain actors in certain films would just throw you off and distract you, and cause you to not really like the film. Well, Neil Patrick Harris, when I first saw him, I was, to myself, I didn't say it out loud, but I was like, I was skeptical. I was like, But then when he became the villain, working with the machines and stuff, I just didn't like it. But anyway, towards the end of the film, someone is flying towards Neil Patrick Harris's apartment or house or whatever. And I assumed it was Neo, because before that scene took place, there was a moment when Neo tried to fly, because in the film, there's a reference. There's a scene when some guy asked Neo, you can really fly? And then Neo was like, shaking his head like that. But then that scene, when Neo tried to fly, he couldn't. So I'm like, I'll just hang on, and see where this is going to go. It's like holding on to a buggy, and you just try to. But anyway, when I saw that character towards the end from a distance just flying, I said, oh, that's Neo. But no, it's Trinity. Trinity is flying. Why is Trinity flying? Trinity don't have powers. Trinity don't have powers. Many of you who really enjoyed this film would say, well, Preacher Man, remember the scene from the first Matrix and the conclusion when she kissed Neo, and then that's when Neo stood up and took down Agent Smith? I thought about that scene. I really did, and I said to myself, But at the same time, knowing that we are currently living in a time that these entertainment industries, music, movies, comic books, film, etc., they are pushing out womanhood big time. And they did it once again in this film by having her to be the leading character at the end of The Matrix. She was like abusing Neil Patrick Harris while Neo was standing behind her holding a black cat by the name of Deja Vu. He was just standing there. And I'm saying to myself, why is he just standing there? Why? He's the man. And the reason why, at that moment, I said, here we go. Feminism. And let me take it one step further before I close up this video. That's the main reason why I don't like this film. When I saw that scene, that's when I started to replay the other female scenes in the film. And there was a lot of them. There was more female scenes in this movie with Naomi, Jada Pinkett Smith, and the little girl from the third Matrix. I believe that was her as a grown-up. And when I put all these pieces together at the conclusion, Trinity flying like that, I said that's the icing on the cake. This is feminism. And I'm not surprised because look, the director is a man, okay, but he decided to become a transgender. I'm not going to call him by that female name because biologically speaking, he is a man, okay? He is a man. No, this is not me trying to disrespect him. This is me being realistic. If he or anyone else wants to live in their own delusional world, that's fine. But don't try to impose that on me because I have my own personal worldview, which is the Christian worldview. And that's the thing I want to leave you guys with. Let me begin by saying this before I say what I really want to say. For quite some time, around this time, there's so much feminism going on. Womanhood has been amplified by the devil. The devil successfully managed to inject womanhood not only in this film, but in other entertainment projects throughout the whole world. We see it everywhere. The new Doogie Howser show is based upon a young girl or a young woman. Nothing but women commercials nowadays. I would just sit here and from one commercial to another commercial, I see more women commercials than men commercials. There was one woman commercial that the man was at home. And the woman said, okay, I'm heading out the door. She was going out to work. I see these things. These are subliminal messages that the devil successfully managed to inject into the minds of this current generation, you see, especially the women of today. A lot of them truly believe that women are being oppressed here in the United States. That is false. I have been in the midst of successful business women. Without naming anyone right now, there is one particularly who happens to be a top dog for a particular company. So this thing that's floating around on social media and throughout the United States. I'm referring to this womanhood oppression. That's not true. What's really happening is this: the devil is using womanhood against God's version of manhood. The devil brainwashed these people, like that man who is a transgender, but he's actually a man, to come out and defend womanhood in his film. I seen it in The Last Jedi, and I seen it in the other, the Force Awakenings, The Last Jedi, and the other film after The Last Jedi. And I have seen it all around me. I have seen it in posters. I have seen it in video games, like The Division, the sequel to The Division. You have a woman standing in the middle while you have both guys on the side in their cover art. I seen it, I think on Channel 2 with that reporter, Gail. Whenever I don't have regular TV, but whenever I'm at my job, sitting in the cafeteria, usually the TV will be on Channel 2 over here in New York City. And that popular lady by the name of Gail, she's the one who is a friend of Oprah Winfrey. She will be right in the center with the two guys on the side. And she will be interviewing a lot of women, on that show. And then right after, when it goes into a commercial break, I will see nothing but women commercials. This is consistent brainwashing to make the people believe, men and women, especially women, that they are being oppressed. This is the devil's way of mocking manhood, which was created by the Lord. And I see that. This is the gift of discernment that the Lord gave me. And I see it clear as day. Many people will say that I'm a sexist. They will say that I don't agree with you. You're such a traditionalist. You expect your wife to be at home and make kids and cook and clean. Look, first of all, that's biblical. There's nothing wrong with that. Second of all, my wife works. And we are both the leaders of this house. Yes, the Bible says that the man is the head of the woman. But it doesn't, that passage of scripture does not mean that she's a slave. We are both here, okay, when it comes to responsibilities, taking care of things in the house and paying bills and all that jazz, okay? What I'm simply saying is that the devil is constantly at work brainwashing people with feminism and with all this toxic stuff that's going on. It's like right now, many people will be on the attack against this video. Years ago, that wasn't the case. You can just come out and say whatever and nobody will bother you. But nowadays, no, they don't want to hear the truth. And the reason why is because, once again, the devil brainwashed billions of people. Billions. They're walking around and they're like, they don't realize the delusion, they don't realize the deception that they're in. In fact, the deception is so deep within their souls, circulating through their systems. It's what the scripture says in the New Testament, that the devil has blinded them. Blinded them. That means they can't see it. They can't see it. So I'm looking at the time. It's 24 minutes in this video. I didn't expect it to be this long. And basically what I just said, at this part of this video, this is the main reason why I didn't like The Matrix. It's a shame, this is how I'm thinking right now. I'm 50 years old, and these new movies, I'm just going to have very, very low expectations moving forward. I am. I mean, when I think of Star Wars, I'm going to think of episode 4, 5, and 6. And even the prequels, which was, you know, some of them hate it, some of them love it. I don't hate it. The first one was boring. The second and the third was pretty good to me. But right after that, The Force Awakens, I actually enjoyed it a little bit. But then I saw how, I saw the direction that they were going with. And, yeah. Oh, one more thing I want to say. For those of you at this moment thinking that I'm a sexist, that they shouldn't be women roles and stuff like that. Let me clear the air right now. When I was a kid, watching Aliens and Terminator 2, those two female fictional characters, Ripley and Sarah Connor, I love those characters. I love them. In fact, right now I'm trying to think of another fictional character, a man character right now. And usually whenever I think of back in the days when it comes to real good movie leading roles, Sarah Connor, Terminator 2, she was awesome. That film was made at a time when none of this social justice and this racial politics and all this other garbage, it didn't exist at that time. Sarah Connor stood up on her own in that film. Yes, Arnold was the man, but Sarah Connor, she was awesome in that film. I love that character. And Ripley, such an incredible character. I believe she won a Grammy, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, both films made by the same director, James Cameron, who basically let the story play itself out. He did not inject any propaganda, any agenda in those films. He just let them be. And that is what's wrong with the films of today, many of them, because of all of these agendas floating all around us. It's to the point that I'd rather just stick to the old stuff. You know? The old stuff. Little House on the Prairie, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy. You know, the old films, Terminator 2, Enter the Dragon. I mean, those films were made without politics. I could go on and on and on. This is the Preacher Man signing out. May the Lord Yeshua Mashiach bless you all and your loved ones. And in Yeshua's holy name, I say all these things. Amen. Peace.